would like to invite on the stage Shri Sanjay Srivastava, former Secretary Coal, Govt of India, Shri Bipul Pathak, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Mines, Government of India, Shri Ashis, Director, Federation of Indian Minerals Industries, and Mr.Sanjay Srivastava. Can I have you all on the stage, please? Shri Sanjay Srivastava, former Coal Secretary, Government of India. Sir joined Indian Administrative Services in 1978 in Assam, Meghalaya, Kenya. He retired as the Coal Secretary in October 2014. Currently, he holds important positions in CAVE and RINL and is an advisor to IDFC Bank. With more than 12 years of experience in extractive industry, Sir has held various prominent positions in the state and central governments of India. We welcome you, sir. I would like to invite you on the dais for your address.
Thank you very much. I don't know, you all must be in a fix, because as the lady PHFI said during the session that we have been hearing about mining, you have been hearing about sustainable development, and this being the fourth session, I really wonder whether anything original will come out of it. But I can assure you, seeing the panel, a panel which is a mix, it's a beautiful mix. You have the government, you have the industry, and you have the NGO, me being an outsider. So I think something good is going to come out of it. I thought that I'll say a little bit about myself, not because of anything else, but just to put it in the proper context. Because a general impression about IAS officers is how are these non-technical, non-professional people handling technical areas. I mean, that's the general impression. And I don't blame you for it, because the moment you start scratching and the moment you come in an interface, whenever someone gives me that, I ask them a question. How many IAS officers have you directly come in contact with? And then you will find the answer. A little bit, as I said, was that I was in the Ministry of Mines from 2010 to 2012. I was in the Ministry of Coal from 2012 to 2014. And from 2006 to 2010, I was in the Ministry of Labour, which was handling the Directorate General of Mine Safety, and was working in the mine sector in the state government also, but that is not the issue. The basic thing which I'd like to emphasize is the period 2010 to 2012. Because if you have an idea, the Sustainable Development Framework was being drafted, was being conceptualized in 2011. And the MMDR bill was also drafted at that time. And I was a bit privy to the internal discussions which took place. And I think now that I am retired, I can safely say that what ultimately comes out is not necessarily the internal discussions which take place. Now, there was the perpetual problem, we call it the gray area of decision making. There was the perpetual problem of where to draw the line, where to draw the balance between social development framework and viability of the extractive industry. Where do we draw the line? And this was an issue which in the internal discussions came out very prominently. Apart from the industry, amongst the bureaucracy, there was a lobby which was saying that we are going a bit too far. There was a lobby which was saying, no, we have to do this. there has to be a paradigm shift in the mindset, because no longer can we work on the old structure of thinking. So I thought I'll start this, then I think Bipul is the right person to take it to its logical conclusion, because a lot of water has flown down the Ganges. But whilst I was hearing the sessions, I got reminded of two anecdotes, not exactly anecdotes, factual anecdotes, and I would like to relate very briefly those two anecdotes and one simple statement. Anecdotes was, I had gone to Ranchi when I was in the Ministry of Coal. The Chief Secretary Ranchi happened to be my batchmate, who right now is the chairman tribe. And he asked me, and he has this habit of being very blunt and straightforward. He asked me in a very straightforward manner, you say Coal India has done so much for environmental mitigation, etc., blah, blah, blah. Why is the color of river Damodaram red? I had no answer. He asked a very simple question. Why is the color of river Damodar red and black? He says, you answer me this question, I'll believe that the industry has done sufficient for environmental mitigation. The second anecdote was told to me by a very major industrialist who has invested in a very large way in the coal mines in Australia. And that is why I want to relate this is, he said that land acquisition in Australia was no problem whatsoever. I asked him why. And he said, I acquired 200 square kilometers of land. And for that, I had to interact with just two people. There were only two landholders possessing that large area of land. Whereas in India, it's absolutely the reverse. And let me make my simple but factual statement that India is one of the few countries which is divinely endowed with mineral resources. And one of your basic pillars of policy framework should be how to maximize this divine endowment and don't kick it away. So with these introductory words, I would like to now ask my panelists. I think Bipul, we'll bring you a bit late, because I thought that first let us listen to the industry and then we will bring in Bipul. So let me request Ashis Dash, Director, Federation of Mineral Industries, who will, I think, give a short presentation. What time should we end the session?
So your choice, there is no problem. No problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Sanjay sir. It was a very thought-provoking discussion and question you have left for us. And I, being from the industry, I'll try to do justice what you have left to me. Good afternoon, everyone. I see from the morning onwards, there has been a lot of deliberations on like how mining is contributing or not contributing to sustainable development, what is being done for the communities in the areas and what is being not done and what should be done. That was the crux of the last session which we discussed. Now, without indulging into much of the words, I'd like to show you a short film, 3 minutes film, on what is the place of minerals in the entire picture of sustainable development? Where do minerals fit in the entire picture? Do you have the sound?
Power is needed everywhere. Our lives are powered by electric bulbs, appliances, and machines. Not to forget the sources of power that help these run. Have we ever thought where the raw materials to generate power and make appliances come from? Responsible mining, sustainable living. Can we live without food? Ever-growing population offers a great challenge to produce more food grains out of limited land resources. While modern agricultural equipments improve farm productivity, fertilizers boost the soil fertility. Ever thought what goes into making these equipments and fertilizers? Responsible mining, sustainable living. Infrastructure is key to development and improving our lives. For housing, roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, ports, airports, and all other infrastructure, we need various materials. Ever thought where these materials to build infrastructure come from? Responsible mining, sustainable living. Transport is an inevitable daily need for commuting and movement of goods. Whether it be cars, bikes, buses, trucks, or railways, or aeroplanes, or ships, we are completely dependent on them. Ever thought where the raw materials to make these come from? Responsible mining, sustainable living. With rapid industrialization and urbanization resulting in global warming, climate change has become one of the greatest threats facing our planet. The need of the hour is to shift rapidly to renewable energy sources like solar power and wind energy. Have we ever thought what contributes to the sources of raw materials for making plants and equipments to generate alternate energy? Responsible mining, sustainable living. Good health is key to a happy life. Healthcare, therefore, is of critical importance. While advancements in medicines and medical instruments help us remain physically fit, beauty products make people look gorgeous. Ever thought where the metals and minerals to make these come from? Responsible mining, sustainable living. Technology has become an integral part of our existence today. We can't imagine a single day without mobile phones, computers, and other modern gadgets. Have we ever thought where the metals to make these devices come from? Responsible mining, sustainable living.
So, back to the presentation. I think now we have a fair glimpse what is the role of minerals in our day-to-day lives and can we live without minerals or not. So you see, like minerals have become an integral part of our daily lives now. And not just now, it's been since the Stone Ages, the Iron Ages and the Bronze Ages. That was the importance of minerals. That's why in history we have ages dedicated to minerals and metals. And today also it's continuing to play a great role in our well-being. And also for sustainable development of the society, of the nation, of an individual as well, we are dependent on minerals heavily. And in terms of national security as well, if you look, we need minerals for our defense sector, for manufacturing. It also provides revenues for the government. livelihoods to many people because mines are there present in the remote and tribal regions where no other industry would venture. And when we talk about our ambitious projects like smart cities and Make in India, don't you think there will be lots of minerals required to develop this infrastructure? And do we think that we can have resources in our country and not develop them and import them from other countries and make in India smart cities a dream come true? Do you think it's a sustainable way forward that we import, or do we think we should develop them in our country and use it to become an industrial superpower? So any thoughts on that? Anyone? Or do I take it as a unanimous consensus? Japan is doing. But if we have an option, then why not to develop in our own country? They don't have it. So they had a resource crunch, so they were forced to develop their capital, human capital. Yeah.
So I think we should be proactive in terms of utilizing the resources rather than from where it's coming. If it is in our country, then also that's fine. If it is not, then we import it and get the job done.
Yeah. But you have to exercise the first option first.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if there is an option, of course. But even if when there are many minerals which are not available in our country, for them also, I'm saying that the focus should be towards the development.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Can I just ask you a question at this stage? India doesn't have a very healthy export-import balance. So our priority should be, and you are free to, challenge my contention. Our priority should be that whatever minerals we have, as far as possible, we should exploit it and use it for our own requirements rather than import.
Yeah, I mean it's returns on scale. So if it is,
I agree with you that it has to be competitive price-wise, and therefore I think a second collaboration will come in, that you create a policy framework that your mineral extraction is competitive internationally.
yeah.
And when minerals are so important and we are going to make policies or efforts, whether it is from the government side or industry side or from the civil society, before going on making any effort, we should understand what is the structure of our sector. Because without understanding who is the targeted audience, if you are going to take any action, may not be a very sustainable way of doing things. And this is the structure of our mines. And these are the mines excluding the fuel, atomic and minor minerals. And if you take a look, it's very clear that majority, almost 3/4 of our mines are very small. Those are less than 50 hectares. So what we have in our industry is a very...
Ashis, to be fair, I think you should further subdivide it into major and minor minerals.
So these are major minerals.
Because these are major minerals.
Major minerals. So the industry is very fragmented. On the one hand, there are large number of small mines which have got capacity issues, which have got space challenges. And on the other hand, there are few limited number of large companies which we discussed elaborately in the last session. And so whenever we are going to make any effort to make them sustainable, we should always keep this framework in mind, that this is what we have, this is within the parameters within which we have to make policy and take action. And clearly there has to be two-pronged approach, one for the smaller mines and one for the larger mines. And definitely their challenges will be different because of their inherent fundamental properties. And also the SDF report, which came in 2011, it acknowledged the fact that the smaller mines that have got capacity issues to sustainable mining. And this is the definition which that report gave. It was after lots of deliberations and discussions with experts and everything. So everyone agreed this is the structure of sustainable mining which we want for our country. Now coming to what is the role of FICCI in promoting sustainable development in the country? FICCI has taken a two-pronged approach. It's a parallel approach. One is supporting the government to bring in regulatory frameworks and understanding on sustainability, and other is from the industry side. So there are two parallel processes going on, and at one point of time, they all merge for the sustainable mining of the industry as a whole. So first, coming to the support that FICCI has provided to the government. So FICCI was part of the Gupta committee, which in 2006 gave a report. That this report, for the first time in India, brought out the concept of SDF, or Sustainable Development Framework in Mining. So this is the first time in 2006 SDF as a concept was introduced in the Indian sector. And then as a result of that, the National Mineral Policy, which came in 2008, it said that all mining has to be done within the parameters of Sustainable Development Framework. And FICCI was again part of the working committee that led to the NMP 2008. And in 2011, the Ministry of Mines had commissioned a study for Sustainable Development Framework in the Indian mining sector, where SDF was formalized, like what should be the structure, what should be the limits of SDF within for the mining sector, and a formulation was given that these are the principles. There were 8 principles according to which SDF in the mining sector in India has to be followed. And again, FICCI provided its assistance to this report. And in 2015, the Ministry of Mines actually took the step to implement this SDF, how to go forward and make each mine in the country sustainable. So the ministry followed a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down one. So from every mining onwards, every mine has to follow sustainability. They have to implement it, and for that, a regulatory framework was also developed. And FICCI was part of the SDF process, implementation process from day one. So we provided assistance to the government in deciding where it should be rolled out and how it should be rolled out. So the rollout took place in Sukinda Bromide mine of Tata Steel in January 2016. And then after that, there was a lot of stakeholder consultation process took up where different experts from industry, academia, government, NGOs, Niti Aayog, think tanks, they came in, they provided the inputs. And after a lot of deliberations, the SDF or the star rating scheme was finalized. So the star rating scheme is made so simple that for a layman, one can understand that if 5-star AC is better than a 4-star AC. Similarly, the star rating scheme for mining has been designed on a scale of 1 to 5, so that each mine is evaluated every year based on its sustainable performance. The better the performance, the better the rating. So it's as simple as that. And based on FICCI's inputs to the government, FICCI has become a part of the 5-member committee at the central level that is monitoring the scheme and improving the sustainability process in India. So this process has started by the government and it's ongoing, and all mines have to report on a fixed template and they'll be marked. So it's a very objective and simple template where each mine has to fill up every year and get a rating. Coming to the efforts that FICCI has made on the industry side, since 1991, FICCI has formed the award scheme with the support of Ministry of Mines and Ministry of Environment and Forest. So what these awards, like any other competition, these awards give a boost to the people who are doing excellent work in the field. Let's bring out the best practices that the industry is following, and also kind of gives an incentive for people to do better and grow more. I think that's the whole objective of the competition. And this is an annual exercise everywhere this goes on, and usually the Minister of Mines gives the awards. So this is a very prestigious award for the people, and lots of people compete to get these awards, and as a result, the understanding of sustainability in people also improves due to competition. And then in 2009, FICCI launched a voluntary initiative with the support of 10 enlightened mining companies. So these companies came together, and it's a voluntary initiative, and they found 10 principles on the line of global principles that were there all around the world. And as per these principles, every company is reporting every year. It's a voluntary, it's not any mandatory reporting. They report every year what they are doing along these 10 principles, where they are. And within 2 years of formation of SMI, considering its pivotal role, the Honorable Supreme Court itself entrusted it with with a project or activity that is to do the reclamation and rehabilitation plans for the iron ore mining leases in Karnataka after the Reddy Brothers issues came up and all. And after implementation of this report only, a mine could start. So that was the importance that SMI has in the industry as well as in the government regulatory process. And it also helps companies to build their capacities. So it's a industry-driven initiative which helps in building the capacities of industries. It engages with stakeholders and it also helps in improving the public perception of mining. And the video which we just saw a few minutes back, that is part of this public perception of mining, so that people who are outside the mining circle, they appreciate what are the roles of minerals in mining in their lives as well. Next, it also set up the Skill Council for Mining Sector in 2013, which aims to improve the skill the people